o'clock in the afternoon meetings, not these morning meetings, so you can sleep in a little bit.
Yeah, he was mad he had to get up early.
Aw.
Sorry about that.
Hey, but you're gonna be doing something cool in a few days.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What's up, Chris?
What station are you with?
KMIC.
Oh, okay.
Wednesday,
yeah, we
Wednesday.
haven't had anything on here. Ross, but
Y'all will be on today.
Okay, cool.
Not gonna use them?
So,
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're not.
All right, well, thanks.
Would you guys,
I know
would
my
you
boy
mind if I
uses them.
interviewed your son? Would that be all right?
Would that be right?
Do you wanna be interviewed?
He used my truck
You did-
last
he's
night, he's
done
supposed
it.
to
He
wash
did
it.
it.
I got up
Do you
there
mind
this
if I do
morning,
it
I said,
real
what
quick
happened to
before
the
they
truck
start?
that's being
Okay.
washed?
Okay.
He said, I thought you were kidding. I said, hell no.
I'll show you it when she interviews you.
You bring it back full of gas too?
No,
He's like, Mom, I don't know if I wanna do that.
but I lost a bet
he's
with him
gonna
on
come
that
out
one
and he's
anyway.
done pretty well.
Yeah, Monday night was $2
I mean,
admission
gets to Blair
to
up
the
to
fair.
be a junior.
He goes, yeah, I think it's $2
And then
admission
the
to the
sport,
fair
the
night.
center got hit.
They don't let you in for $2. He goes,
Yeah, but I
it
think
is,
we have
Dad.
it fixed before.
I bet you. I
That's
said,
good.
no, it's not. What are we betting? I said, I bet it's at least $5. I said, it's maybe reduced price. But I don't care about the $2 having to admit you were right, so it makes me mad.
I might be out in the hallway just in case if they start. Is that okay?
Do you mind if I pull around the
But ain't
hallway?
no driver's side
Okay,
either.
cool.
Just in case.
That one, right?
Oh, I'll argue.
Yeah.
It don't matter.
I know.
Hello, Jeff.
I've already signed.
I don't know where to take this to you.
Oh, I got it. I'll take it. Thank you.
Mule shirt on today.
How is your baby? Baby, good. Let's see, wait. Mine, 11. You're about there too, right? He just turned 1. Ooh, Kristen.
Good girl.
Better than I dropped the cookie.
Poor me. I swear. Yesterday was the same way, and clearly I just need to go home today.
You're gonna start over.
Having a rough day?
Yesterday I couldn't do anything right. I did 3 things wrong yesterday. And then today I can't even fill out a little.
You can't write your name.
I know.
Your name right?
That way you guys can get out, Dave can get out.
Did he get sleep? Is he sleeping well?
No, not really.
Oh, good. Okay. Not enough.
See, I really would like to stay there.
I always hope people will say yes for your own good, but then it makes me feel better.
Isn't it annoying? They were like, long time ago, you'd be like, oh yeah, I had to wake my baby up after 14 hours.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
My sister-in-law's both had 3 months
Are you
old.
sure?
They're like, they slept
Pretty
for
good, how are
7
you?
hours yesterday. I'm like, awesome. That's so great for you. We got 2.5 in. That's great.
he does okay. He sleeps usually about, well, if he goes down later, like at 9 or 9:30 or so, he'll usually sleep till about 3.
Okay. So that's pretty good.
Yeah.
We have a teething issue, and I can't like. My daughter was fine. The first one was
It's a second child thing. Because my first one was like, oh, no big deal, please, whatever. This one, oh my god, like she's dying.
Is this just for us or what?
We just got one of them. They officially provide each of them.
Or do you want me?
I haven't read it yet. I don't care.
Mine got 6.
Oh, I'm sorry.
About
Did I just say that?
I'm just thinking.
Restricted information or what?
Restricted information. Intently. I'll read
Restricted
it.
information?
After he gets done reading it, I expect to have all the notes. That way, it's like getting the book after someone else has read it, so I know which pages to turn to.
Seems like they should spend their money on something else.
It's the feds.
Really?
I told her the other day they come
In
over the
order
house
to
and
get the money, they have to provide a report, huh?
Yeah.
I said, y'all are fixing it up to look
Yeah,
like a
still out there
little
doing
There
it.
was something at the there was something at the federal level. All these reports that were generated, and nobody even read them.
all the balls. Heck yeah.
Yeah, but the reality of it is that you can go to my office and you can, there's a shelf full of spiral bound reports.
Uh-huh.
You know, and they probably go back 20 years. And
Like if I hold
we're
his hand. He just got
a tiny fraction of the number of reports that they have in that city.
Army crawl.
Oh, I'm sure.
You know,
Huh.
That's our
it's
problem.
just crazy.
And if nobody's reading them, what's the point of even doing them?
Well, you know, it's like we did the jail report.
Mhm.
How to size.
Right.
We all read it out pretty thorough.
Mhm.
But then he goes and shops.
Right.
No, so he can scoot everything everywhere. And he's just terrible. Like, once you get a little, like.
So is this Tanner back here then? Is that his mom or?
Take care of those, like, you
Is that his mom?
Well, he wears
Yeah, Heather.
diapers, and they're the unofficial baby pad, because sometimes when he stands up, I'm like.
We got 9. I got 9.
Oh, Lord.
Actually, I got 9:03 of all things. So,
They're talking diapers. Let's get moving. Sorry.
all right, we're gonna call the commission to order. We have any minutes or reports?
I have the county sheriff's fees were filed yesterday.
Commissioner committee liaison reports or announcements, upcoming meetings and/or events.
Goat buying time tonight, buddy.
You should get one.
I got a picture of you. I'm gonna copy, and
Jeff said he's gonna buy one for you, Mark.
I'm going to.
He's welcome to buy it. He keeps it.
Do y'all have goat restrictions out there in your
Yes, I'm
subdivision?
sure we do.
We're gonna find out.
No, we're not.
I'll help you tie it up to his front tree.
Not unless the only way I'm having a goat in my neighborhood is if it's a barbecue.
Yeah, you're asking about getting your grass cut.
There you go. I solved that problem real quick.
It might not be bad either. All right.
Ham breakfast Friday
Yeah,
morning.
Friday we got ham breakfast. So we won't have another meeting till next Wednesday. Then.
Yep. And next Friday, not this Friday, but next Friday will be Marsh and Crutch. So think about it.
No, I can't do it.
We're not in a
We
hurry.
got the honor flight golf tournament. I need some lessons before then, Tanner. And it's going to
I
take
can
you
do
a
it.
long time.
I think
to
I'm the last.
fix
I
this.
think you guys have done it in the last 2, haven't you?
I did the last one, but I mean,
So
if you're
I can
out
do
or
it.
something, I can.
Nope, I'm around. I'll do it. I'll
That'd
tell
be a
them
good
what
time after the vote's over too.
Yeah.
So
There you go. What else we got here? Too many days on the calendar.
I don't have a whole lot.
Yeah, it's a little quiet. Well, look at that. Unbelievable. Okay. Then we're gonna work our own way through the agenda. I'm
Cut and paste.
gonna turn the mic over to Jeff and
we're going to move up right away. We've got a special guest here, Tanner Elder. Come on up here. We want to recognize your accomplishment. He's going to be playing an International Junior Golf Tour tournament. It's a Euro Tour in Scotland. One of 8 kids, 8 young adults going to be playing from the USA on Team USA. So he's going to be representing not only Jefferson City, Cole County, but USA. So we did a resolution to acknowledge your accomplishments. I'm not going to bore you to death by reading it. You can read through it. Another thing on here that I do 1.8. He's got 4.0 grade point average. So not only is he a great golf player, he's academically he's doing very good. So congratulations and good luck in this Friday, right?
congratulations.
So,
Good luck over there.
Can I get a picture? Yeah, please. So I can put it on Kid Book, as I call
Kid
it.
Book.
It's not Facebook. All right, thank you.
Just tweet it out.
Thanks a
We'll
lot,
all
man.
retweet it too.
Congratulations.
I think I'd be a better golfer scared of snakes as I am. I still head into the woods all the time.
No, your problem is you like snowmen.
Snow women. Snow women must be sensitive.
All right. Because of some of the things we've got going and folks that have to get out of here, we're going to just slightly adjust the schedule again. And we're going to talk about the Highway 54 Stadium draft report. And David, Matt, thanks for coming up. Eric, Larry. We got copies of that report. I don't know if you guys have a copy. It didn't get attached to our agenda.
Yeah, I was gonna have to
pull it out of
pull it
my
up.
email. But I know that I had some questions about it, and I figured as opposed to just shooting emails around and trying to figure out what the heck's going on, we could all sit down and talk about it a little bit, if that's okay with you guys. Have you all had a chance to go through it?
You want me to?
You guys, yeah.
Not in a great amount of detail. The report came to us just before our Public Works and Planning Committee meeting this past Thursday, and so we certainly had seen the diagrams previous to that, but not the report itself. But since then, I've read through it, and I think Erica kind of indicated that you all had some questions about it, and some of those things are issues that probably have risen in my mind as well. So.
Well, obviously I'm not a traffic engineer, you guys are. But the thing I recall from a meeting several years ago when we were talking about one of the other projects, I don't even remember which one it was the fact that you don't ever build roundabouts next to stoplights because they back up and then it completely defeats the purpose. So when I looked at this study, my concern was we're talking about putting a roundabout in at Jefferson and Stadium, which I think is a great idea and I think is a good location for one. But then we're going to continue to have stoplights at Christie and Stadium, which is, I've seen it backed up through there many, many, many times. And backed up at that light, particularly going eastbound on Stadium, which is what would back up and then load it right into the roundabout, which would then back it up the street, which would then back it back up on the highway. And additionally, we've got then another signal right after it at Monroe Street, which seems to compound the problem to me. So I thought, can we have a little discussion about that? I would like to see some kind of global solution so we don't have to come in and worry about fixing this again in the future.
They've certainly modeled, the traffic through there, given the volumes that they've produced. I think if you look back on one of the figures, I think it's figure 7 or 8, they're talking about a maximum queue length coming back from the signal at Christie, which is about, I think, 445 feet is what they said the maximum queue length was, and that would put you right about the, right about the roundabout. So that's really cutting it pretty close. And so I think that is a little bit of a concern, and I think the solution to that problem then would be to give Christie, the east and westbound traffic on Stadium at Christie, give them a longer green, and essentially then coordinate that signal with the Monroe signal, essentially so those people would just could get away from there. The problem with that, of course, would be then that you're penalizing the people who are getting off the highway from the other direction and are sitting on Christie waiting to do something. And so,
and then that's going to back up.
Right, and that movement, has, some issues with it already. And so, if we're forced to, give a longer green on Stadium to make sure that we keep the roundabout clear, then, that is an issue. I think that's something that we are concerned about. And I've mentioned that to George Butler as well. And so I don't know that I have a precise answer for that at this moment in time.
Is there any way to kind of come up with a global solution? And ultimately there's going to be more and more traffic because Cap Region's doing their big expansion there, and we're talking about making that street 2-lane, which I presume is going to continue to go forward, which is going to make that road a much better access point, therefore more traveled. Therefore that light's going to get, which doesn't exist now, will get more use because there's no left turn there.
Yeah, and just to answer that part of it, on that diagram's talking about future traffic growth.
Right.
So it's what it is today, plus I think it's either a 0.5% or 1%, 0.5% growth, plus it's added traffic for the hospital expansion and things of that nature. Now, we were discussing that with George Butler. I recall you may not actually you might have been on vacation that week, but their issue was that the countywide travel demand model actually shows a big decrease in traffic here eventually, which is kind of weird. So we didn't want to go with that.
Where'd that come from?
By a different traffic engineer, but they said in similar circumstances when you have built out areas like this, that the traffic probably doesn't grow as fast as other areas of town, and so generally throughout town we see about a 1% growth is what we always try to focus with, and so with that 0.5%, they felt that was more than adequate, and then layering on top of that the immediate growth of the hospital in those projections. So usually they're pretty conservative. So I haven't had a chance to discuss that with David either. But.
So these future movement, and I assume it's the one that at the bottom says traffic design volumes future AM peak hour, is the one I'm looking at. That shows you're talking about almost 1,000 cars going through that intersection.
Right, and that's why it's usually pretty conservative because they do that growth for at least 20 years to get your life out of your whatever you're constructing. So, so that's sometimes these traffic projections can get really out of hand, and this has a long history, probably maybe predates David a little bit, where we used to meet with Matt Myers at MoDOT and trying to solve this issue. And we had Crawford, Bunting, and Braemar had actually looked at this intersection through a different study previously as well, and they had indicated, well, at some point you can't build enough to hit all the traffic projections, that the traffic will just start diverting because you won't be able to handle it in some of these older areas, and they almost never experience that. But when you get in these traffic models and just keep feeding traffic at something, eventually it does blow up. So,
Well, I mean, but the existing number is 850 already going through that intersection. So it's not like that's a real substantial growth. And
No,
and there's no light there, which allows that traffic to flow. Now you're going to stop it there. Then you're going to stop it at Christie, and then into that roundabout. I'm just concerned that what we're doing is this reminds me a little bit of our discussions we had on Frog Hollow. Let's fix the problem, and then we're going to come back at some point in the future and realize that we have additional problems and we didn't fix them, and it's maybe better off to get out in front and fix all the problems at one time.
and perhaps maybe we could invite George Butler in to explain the study better instead of us trying to explain it for him. That might be
That's fine. I mean,
Because
I still haven't seen it, so it was sent an attachment, and I don't have any of that information. So,
Let me send it to you again.
but my concern,
I did scroll down to get
It's
to
way
it.
down at the bottom of the email.
I can't get it. So,
Okay.
I mean, and if you look on what they're calling Figure 9, and I think this kind of perhaps addresses a little bit of what you're imagining, Mark. In the future condition at Christie, they're showing that signal operating at a level of service D, with the future volumes, and so I think there is some indications that probably is the critical point in what they're showing as the design at this point.
Okay.
But I think also, just
How's it going to
looking-
operate in current volume?
Current volume, I think Christie's operating at a.
Trying to find where that's. I don't.
Let's see.
I mean,
This is peak hour.
This is peak hour.
Well, yeah,
it's
and-
operating at a B currently.
and it's peak in the morning is the key because peak in the afternoon is not the same.
Figure 6 is PM. peak
There it
hour
is.
existing.
Right. So if you look at Figure 5, that's existing traffic volumes and levels of service.
So when it says B 295, is that distance 295 feet?
Correct. That would be the length of the queue. The length of. Well, that's actually what we're calling the required storage length. Would be essentially 300 feet, which would put it back approximately the driveway into the break time gas station, probably.
And this is the existing with the current signalization, right?
Correct.
Because it's showing that at Jefferson and Stadium, there's only 110 foot at maximum queue. And I've been there at that time of day. I'd say it's more like add an extra 0 to that, maybe 1,100 foot queue because you got it. That traffic is nonstop queued up.
Right up underneath Jefferson Street.
Yeah.
And so there is an issue. I think if you look at Figure 5, they're showing, for instance, the right-hand turn lane coming off of the highway onto Jefferson Street. They're sort of indicating that as capacity per demand. So essentially, it's an uncontrolled, or it's a free movement, and so theoretically, you shouldn't have any delay. I don't think that's exactly right because obviously, it's not right. Because
Yeah, we know
we've
it's
all
not
seen
right.
it. So I think there might be some additional work that. Of course, this is existing, so not necessarily, but perhaps there's something that we need to look at there in terms of the model, because it doesn't seem to be.
Because their existing just doesn't seem to match up with certainly my experiences there, and you guys are down there all the time.
So.
Larry?
I drove this intersection when I rented on Tenor Bridge Road for a year over in Houseville. Drove that every morning. The northbound lanes at Christie that are 2 at the light, but that go into 1 real quick. Are they extending those to be 2 lanes further down? Because that is the big problem. Part of the big problem in the morning is that traffic gets backed up into a single line and cars can't move that want to go left or right because they're waiting for the ones that are going whichever direction to get out of the way, and it doesn't allow the traffic to back up the street far enough and move through the intersection at a good flow. That's just my personal experience from driving that every morning during the school year for a year.
Right. There wasn't anything that the consultant was proposing that would address that issue particularly. Apart from just the signal timing would be different, so that perhaps that backup wouldn't occur just based on signal timing, but they weren't proposing any particular lane change.
This is our last, excuse me, major project out of the sales tax cycle, as I recall, joint project. And, you know, we need to, obviously, it's one that needs to be done. It needs to be moved forward quickly. I'm all for having the traffic engineer come in, but I don't know if there's value in having them come in and just trying to justify their report, or whether there's value in maybe telling one of them to come down on, August 14th or August 15th and sit at that intersection from, I don't know, what do you think, 6:30 to 8? Maybe put a couple up, one of them at Jefferson and Stadium, one of them at Christie and Stadium, and we can see how that intersection's working, because then I think they would actually see the issue that's there.
I guess another part of the issue is, is the funding for the project. I mean, I think they had put together some estimates for the project, somewhere in the neighborhood of $1.8 million for the Monroe, basically everything to the east of Highway 54, and about $2.1 million for the roundabout and the stuff to the west of Highway 54. And so I think that's on the last page of the written report, page like 6 or so.
Okay, I got it.
So, given those numbers, essentially we're pretty much stretched and perhaps beyond what we thought we were spending on this project, sort of before. Now, certainly we've not spent as much on Frog Hollow as we thought we were, and so, there's, according to some of the numbers that Matt and I have been working with, the money potentially could be there for this, but not necessarily a whole lot more. And so, unless the federal highway bill gets re-upped and there are potentially some other state funds, we're sort of limited in what we can do in terms of more than what we're showing. So, but I don't think what we're showing necessarily precludes doing something different, in the future. I mean, I think some of what we had talked about was the possibility of, of Christie, sort of going away,
right,
and or becoming a ride-in, ride-out.
I vote for that one.
Me
Get
too.
rid of it.
That makes 3 of us.
Same with Jefferson,
Yeah.
the off-ramp of Jefferson, get rid of it. Make it, that's part of the problem. You got the Madison on-ramp crossing over with Jefferson off-ramp. You sit down there during the school year and it is just, somebody's waiting to be killed. So close it off and let people come through there. You got lake traffic. They can come around that corner and not worry about traffic being backed up, or, my grandpa that drives about 12 miles per hour. I'm driving 80, and you got those two meeting together, it just doesn't work.
Well, yeah, I don't know that we'll be able to get rid of the interchange altogether, because certainly Stadium serves as a, sort of the belt around the inner part of the city. So having that connection, I think, is important from it being able to handle traffic and letting people get where they want to go. But ultimately, I think if Christie were to to become a ride-in, ride-out, for instance, and somehow that traffic was routed on Monroe Street over to the new signal at Monroe, certainly then the distance between the roundabout and the signal is increased by another 500 feet. So now we're 1,000 feet in between those two things, and so that distance, that certainly seems much more significant and doable. So what we're proposing doesn't necessarily preclude that happening sometime in the future, but if we wanted that future to be, closer at hand, there'd probably need to be some more funding from somewhere.
What are the proposed improvements east of 54? I mean, I look at it, it's still a 4-lane road.
That's actually going to become a 5-lane.
So they're talking about putting a middle lane, a turn lane in?
Right. And it'd just be over a short distance, basically just to develop turn pockets onto Monroe Street.
Is that road wide enough to do that?
No, it would have
so
to be
you have to
wide
add
enough.
an extra lane?
Correct.
Okay.
And
And how far would that lane go?
Essentially, I think what they're showing, if you look on the second
That's the only problem with not having the big map is we have the small version. It's really hard to read
Right.
to see that one on here.
Essentially, right now where the drive entrance going into the hospital parking lot is, essentially that third lane would develop at that point, or the fifth lane would develop from that point to Monroe. And so basically from Christie, they would start developing that lane. It would be developed by the time you got to that driveway entrance, and then continue to Monroe Street.
And then at Monroe, it would go back to 2
On the
lane.
other side, it would be, again, basically from Adams Street, you would begin to develop that section, and you'd have it, about 200 feet from Monroe Street. You'd have the full 5 lanes.
Okay.
But if you close them off, you'd save money. You get rid of the Christie and get rid of the Jefferson off 54. You don't have to worry about a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I recognize it'd be a much more expensive project to do that, but I think that's the kind of thing we need to look at, because if we're going to spend, say, $3 million on this proposal, and then we're going to come back in 5 years and say, well, gee, that didn't work so good. We need to spend another $5 million to fix it. Maybe we're better off spending $5 million and saving it up than we are trying to just race in and do something.
Right. I think, part of the city's commitment, apart from sort of the interchange itself, part of the city's commitment is to provide, the two-way access to the hospital. And
Right.
So in some ways we're, I think probably the more immediate project, certainly would be the Monroe Street piece from Woodlawn down to Monroe. And so,
And it's not an option to put a roundabout there? Because now you flow all the traffic.
right. It's possible. I think the plan as it's drawn is anticipating the need to buy at least the houses on the corners on the southern side.
Yeah, I can see that.
There is also going to be impact to the property, the second property away from the road on the east. We're widening towards their front porch. So maybe that's a maybe. If that's the case, then essentially there would be another 1, 2, 3, 4. I think 5 properties on the eastern side of Monroe Street that would probably, if we're envisioning Monroe Street as being the connection, and we get rid of Christie altogether, I would almost have to imagine that we would have to satisfy ourselves that we were going to buy those properties as well, so that road could get widened to the east. And then at that point, perhaps then a roundabout would be an option. But, I think that's the reality of getting it squeezed in there would be, the need to buy those additional properties.
Okay.
Well, and just on George Butler's point of view, and give everybody, I think they've done a good job of this, really, that, they're trying to give us that worst case scenario as they would see it, and they are the professional traffic engineers, and we're not traffic engineers, but that's why we hire them. But and also the least cost is one of their other options is, how can I handle this traffic at the most reasonable cost? Certainly you could do a lot of other things here and spend a lot more money, but with all the traffic projections, they felt that the signals would handle them for the 20-year thing and then start maxing out. So that's where I'd rather them kind of come and explain some of this in more detail before we made any hasty decisions against something they're not recommending, because they've recommended a lot of good projects for us and have been successful. So they have some background. They may have done something with the timings that we don't quite get in this study and to make this work. And so all good questions, but if, on those depth of questions before we would go in a different direction, I'd like them to come have an opportunity to explain it to everybody.
I think that's great. I'd love to have them here and talk about it. I just, as we look forward, coming up with a global solution is always going to be a better option than coming up with a short-term solution. And it instinctively strikes me, probably more because I drive through that intersection a fair amount of time, to know that it seems that seems to be the overly optimistic solution. Like, oh yeah, hey, we're going to build this, and guess what? It'll fix everything. And I'm not so sure that's the answer down there. So, okay. Well, thanks for coming up. I guess we need to figure out a time when, I don't know if they're going to do some additional work, or is this, you guys ready to quote unquote accept this as their final report?
Well, it's
It says
preliminary draft. We're talking
yeah.
to people about it, and so that's why trying to get the questions if they were pretty minor, or, David's really been the one looking at this more in detail than me, but since it seems like we have a lot of questions, I think it'd be a good idea to have one of the George Butler folks come and give a presentation just about it. Invite you guys and the city council to listen to it.
I think that's a great idea. I think that's a great
But
idea.
that'd be something maybe we could, and the community, maybe just, we've held a public meeting with the community, but maybe just hold it in the conference, council chambers where a lot of people could attend if they
Yeah,
wanted
and
to
they
come
can
and
put
see
this
it.
up on screen
Screen and
and
let 'em
actually
go
walk
through
through
it.
and
Yes, sir.
explain it. It might be very
That'd
helpful.
Be a good idea.
Okay.
Maybe a couple weeks out, we'll try to schedule it out a couple weeks or so. It depends on their schedule too.
I think that's a great idea. Great.
Okay.
Well, thank you guys for coming up. We really appreciate it.
Very good. Thank you all. For
Thanks
having
again,
us.
David, Matt. Thank you. And we appreciate the cooperation with the city. It's all these joint projects. Sometimes they make us pull our hair out a little bit, but boy, they're great projects in the long run. So thank you guys.
Thank you.
And since I know Eric's got to get out of here, final closeout, change order, Hunter's Run, Valley View, and Rainbow. Commission attire.
Do what you gotta do. These are the final closeout change orders on those three projects. The Valley View and the Rainbow Hills project, we had already done a change order that we had thought would be the final one, but there was some yard work that we had to do to fix some yards that.
So we're adding three. Rainbow Hills is $300,
Rainbow Hills is $300
and that's yard work.
yes, and then the
Okay.
Valley View had 300 plus another, I don't know the exact amount, 1,600 or
Yep.
so, and that was to replace two drives that were, the cars were dragging. So just minor cleanup stuff that had to be done to get the job finished
Okay.
on those two jobs. And then Hunter's Run, that one was this was the only change order on this project, and that amount,
$8,000,
over
$8,100.
Some of that was some additional stuff we had to do with the sewer that was bid in conjunction with the project, and then we had some additional street that we decided to replace to get things to match in, and
The city will pay us back for the sewer part.
they've already paid us for it.
So part of this has already been paid for.
So I recommend approval of these three change orders to close out the job and get this thing done and get everything closed out on the project.
Well, we're still under budget with it. Wrong question.
I don't know the answer to it.
Well, I was trying to see
I
our
don't-
totals where it was projected. I see the 194, 117. I don't remember us talking about going over on contingencies either.
The original contract amount, we're over on all three.
Yeah, but that's not what our
The
budget
original
number was.
budgeted amount, I mean,
We did a lot more curb and gutter too, didn't we?
yeah, we added a bunch of curb and gutter work, and we did the mill and fill stuff last year that you all approved us doing, and that was the main thing of all the additions. Really, outside of that, I'd say overall, we probably came in under as far as the stormwater portion of the project. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, we added stuff that wasn't in the first scope of the project, which that I don't count as.
We added some to the contractor's contract.
Yeah.
We did a bunch ourselves, so.
But the stuff that was in the scope of the project was all within the budget, and then what we added was stuff we added later on. So,
Right.
yeah, I'm fine with it.
They, all the yards have grass and
Yeah, we worked
not
through some
weeds.
issues on that, and the contractor came back and fixed everything and did a good job, and everybody's happy.
Okay.
You good?
Good.
Good. I entertain a motion to approve the change orders on Rainbow Hills, Valley View Drive, and Hunter's Run and close them out.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Call roll.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, by roll call vote, the motion carries. Closeouts will be approved. Got anything else, Eric?
I'm good.
Thanks for adjusting your schedule and
yeah.
coming in.
I can do, may take a little more time to discuss Business 50 and give you an update on that. I probably don't want to do that. Move on with your schedule. Or if you want me to come up next week.
Yeah, why don't you come up next week and give us
time
an
you got
update?
a Commission meeting, I can come up and.
I think we're next Wednesday. Is that what you said? Next Wednesday?
Can you bring some bigger plans on the 54 stadium?
Yeah, here with some questions for you.
Yeah.
Particularly those
Take 'em.
two big sheets, because I can't hardly read them on the computer. And but to get them big enough to read, then you lose all the definition of what's around it. So why don't we put both of those on next week? If you just tell Melody on your way out. that's okay with you?
Yeah.
Since you're gonna walk right by her.
I'm gonna walk right by her. Next Wednesday, right?
Next Wednesday.
Okay.
All right. Anything else on this? All right,
Thanks for
run.
working with my schedule and making it work. Appreciate
See
it.
you.
Yep. Now we can get back on the agenda. How about that? Jen, Spectrum Consulting.
Hey, Jen.
Hi.
Welcome.
Let's see. Annual report. Oops, sorry.
Thank you.
So on the right is the report, on the left are all your normal attachments. This year we sort of, as we talked about last year, we went with the method of trying to help communities, since most of their sort of urgent fires, not all of them, but most of them have been put out. We went with more trying to connect them and work on upgrading some of the projects in their communities that they might have a priority on. So that's been a little bit more focused this year. We have a meeting coming up in most likely September, where we'll have some people from GSA, including the regional administrator, and some people from ED, like Sally Hammer might come down. Roundtable with all the mayors to talk about funding that's coming in this cycle, what they think they can pair them up. We've had some individual conversations with communities and these people, but I think it seems that we get a bigger benefit when they're all in one room, so that if somebody has a good idea, they sort of all can hear it, that they might not have thought about before. So we have a couple of new mayors, so we can put them up to speed on what's going on with us, and just sort of things we've been working on in their community. So that's what we've been doing this year.
Where are we at? I know you and I have talked. St. Martin's.
Yeah, we are sort of at a stalemate.
Okay.
They're in negotiations. They've sort of been, they have a great couple of people that are on their side. They're trying to get that worked out. And for whatever reason, it's stuck. I don't know what the internal politics are of that. St. Martin's doesn't want me to be overly engaged for fear that it could. Because right now, while they're still under negotiations with the
City.
even though their contract is over, they're keeping them at their same rates. Their concern is that if they're a little scared, I think. So their concern is that if they upset the city can then vote 3 times the rate while they figure it out. It's not going to be good for them. So
Talking about sewer rates, I mean, Jeff, if you weren't
have
aware of
updated
that, so.
both senators' offices,
Yeah.
Blunt and McCaskill, and they're ready to not engage on one person's side, just engage that it's in everybody's benefit to work together. Right
Okay.
now, St. Martin's does not want that, so I think it just kind of makes them a little nervous, so. I think
Okay.
they're being given just enough to feel like they're moving in a good direction, so they're gonna steady that course.
Okay.
Okay. And I guess the contract's up for renewal also.
It is. Jason wasn't able to come. He's ill. He will hopefully be able to come in a couple of weeks to reach the end over that.
Okay.
You guys can take a look at it. And
Okay.
Nothing's changed on it really except for the date. Unless there's something you need changed.
Okay.
I think there was there a 5% increase on it maybe?
Yeah.
You said, I think was all that was on it.
Okay.
So, questions for Jen?
Do you get with our directors and see if there's anything you can help them with? Anything maybe up at the federal level you can look into for them to help them out? I know last time I mentioned the other cities, parts of Cole County, but like even Public Works or Health Department.
I can definitely do that.
Reach out to
now
them
and
and-
Larry sends an email if he's got something going on. But when we talked about like the jail, which we couldn't really help with, but I'd be happy to sort of maybe sit down with them quarterly and see what they're working on.
I think it'd be a good
Particularly the
idea to
health
try to-
department and EMS, because both of those probably have
Yeah, EMS, I didn't mention
substantial
them.
Okay.
impact with the
So-
federal government too.
Sure.
What about juvenile as well?
Yeah, juvenile. I didn't think about juvenile. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. We've met with EMS a couple of times when they were upgrading their trucks, but it's been a while, so.
I mean, you're fine to reach out to the other elected officials as well.
Yeah.
We got some of them in here. I'm not saying to just go with our departments, but
There you
That's
are.
what I heard just now.
See, just that.
Well, they probably have less. They probably have less federal issues than some of our departments. Although sheriff probably has a fair number of federal issues.
Sure, I'll get with Melanie and get a list of everybody's contact information and just.
Okay, yeah, or else email us and we can get you the information.
Okay.
Well, I told Melody to get it for you.
Yeah.
No, we can get it for you.
That'd be great.
So-
I like that idea.
So do we have a contract then, or we gotta
Do we have that with us, or
wait? There's no attachment on the.
No.
let me see?
Okay, so you need.
I might have one. Now let me look and see.
Yeah, we have last year's, but Jason hasn't been able to.
I do have a contract. I'll print it out.
This
I
year?
think. I think this is. Yep, I have this year's contract.
Great.
So, do we want to go ahead and renew it, or we want to wait till Jason comes up? Be $26,250. I think last year it was 25.
Get it done.
Chris?
Yep.
Are you wanting to talk about it some more?
I'm willing to entertain a motion to approve the contract with Spectrum Consulting.
So moved.
Second.
A motion second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Call the roll, please. Yes.
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 By a roll call vote, the contract's approved. We'll get it signed. Jason, if you stay around, we need to get Jason to sign it too. Because it has to be signed by both parties, and then we have all sorts of internal crap we have to get done too. So hang on a second. I'm printing it out right now. We'll get it signed, and then you can run it up to Jason and get it taken care of. Great. Awesome. Thanks very much, Jan.
Thanks,
We
Jan.
really appreciate the work you guys have done. It's been great. Next item on the agenda, Heidi Williams Keepers to present the 2013 audit.
We have boxes out there.
We have boxes.
Boxes. Be a binder.
I'm not sure that's an
We get a
encouraging comment.
I better go to the bathroom first.
I'm going to step up and grab the contract.
Boxes. Oh, you got binders. So boxes of binders.
You know, we do it by the pound.
Oh, we need to look at them contracts then. We're doing it per pound.
Yeah, it's by
I like the Reader's Digest version better.
Yeah. One paragraph.
Yeah.
Not one page.
Oh, there you
One
go.
paragraph.
Oh, no.
2 books.
It's always 2 books.
You
The
bring
big,
us-
the big book is the one we don't want to talk about. The little book is the one we do want to talk
Start
about.
giving us
It's
a box
probably
of
been
crayons
conveyed
with
to
these
you
things.
already, hasn't it?
I do have to say a few things about the So I do want to introduce 2 people. Kelly Schwartz, who's the audit manager. I think you guys have all met her. She's along in case you guys ask me questions I don't know. And then John Ford was our IT consultant. So we'll talk a little bit about what we did this year. He's here in case anything comes up. So Cliff Note version, clean audit opinion again this year. That's what you want. Report's pretty consistent with the prior year. There's some new accounting standards, so there's a few things that look a little bit different, but pretty much the footnotes are pretty consistent. Numbers
Can you grab the microphone, please? And it doesn't.
That way people out there
Yeah.
can hear you. It's not for us, but anybody who's watching, seeing you talk and not hearing any words. Hey,
It doesn't
Betty,
amplify. It just records. So.
Can you get that process quickly so that we can get her out of here? Jen, thank you.
Okay, just
Sorry.
want to go back. Clean opinion, that means everything is fairly stated in all material respects in accordance with the accounting principles that are applicable to the county. Obviously, that's the opinion that you want to have. Like I said, pretty much the financial statements are consistent with prior year. There are a couple new accounting changes, not a big impact, but if you actually compare this year to last year, there's a couple lines that are different, things like that. But the footnotes and everything are pretty consistent with prior year. Single audit was clean, so both a clean report on the single audit on the federal funds. That's what you want. So really, that's about as brief as I can.
I love it.
I do encourage you though, because that's really, the primary focus of what we do is the big report. So I really do encourage you to read through it. Kristen spends a lot of time doing the intro section, the management discussion and analysis. And so there's really a lot of good information in there. And if you read nothing else, read the management's discussion analysis, because that really talks about what went on in the county for the year. But bottom line, clean opinion, things are moving along. In the thinner book, there's 2 reports in there. One is a report on the audit process itself. It's our report to you as auditors. And the second report in there is the management letter. The report on the audit process pretty consistent with last year. It's kind of boilerplate, but overall the audit goes really well. People throughout the county, when we talk with them, they work with us. Kristen does a good job getting ready for us. No real difficulties doing the audit, no disagreements, anything like that. It does talk about the adjustments in there, but really pretty consistent with last year. So overall, the audit process is working well, and everybody here cooperates. On the management letter, one of the things that we have to do under...
Do you want to make the management letter public?
I see no reason not to make it public. Do you
I just
guys?
want to make sure before
Chris, Jeff?
Yeah.
Where's it at? In here?
It's the little one.
I think you just made it public when you handed it to us.
Yeah. Okay. I just want to make sure. I know that in the past you guys have voted.
No, we
to
want
make
it.
Where?
Yeah, we want it open.
Oh, yeah, I'm fine.
She said yes.
Yeah, we want it open. I don't. I mean, we are allowed.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
I just-
communication.
Thanks for asking. I see what you're saying.
Communications between auditor and client can be closed under the Open Records Act, but we would prefer to operate in the sunshine.
Thank you. Bob Watson will be happy.
Let's get the name spelled right.
Just a little perspective on the management letter. We gain, in order to do the audit, we have to gain an understanding of how stuff works. Who does what, how do transactions flow, how do things get recorded, in order to figure out how we're going to audit the county. So we don't do enough work on internal control to really give an opinion on the internal control, and we don't necessarily look at everything in the county, because we're focused on auditing the financial statements and not looking at internal control. But obviously, when we're doing our procedures, if we notice stuff, then we evaluate how big a deal it is. You know, if it's the biggest deal is a material weakness. That means that there's a chance something could happen, and if it did happen, your financial statements could be materially misstated. So that's the most serious, and you don't have any of those. A significant deficiency is just something that's not a material weakness, but we think it's a big enough deal to bring to your attention. So it's not really a really high threshold to report it in writing to you. The third category is just stuff we notice, not a significant deficiency or material weakness, but we just put it in writing in the management letter so everybody has a chance to see it. So that's kind of the perspective on the management letter. It's a byproduct of the actual audit of the financial statements. One of the other things that we're required to do under auditing standard is change our procedures or look at changing and doing different things every year. So this year, because you guys implemented new software, we thought it'd be a good year to look at that. I mean, we've looked at it every year, but this year, instead of just us looking at it, we actually had John come in and do the stuff that is beyond what our capabilities are. So John's background is both in IT and in accounting and auditing. So he gets both what we do and he gets how IT works. So we had him come in and do some testing, mainly from the perspective of how stuff flows from the assessor through the system to where we as taxpayers pay our bill, and then you turn around and distribute it out to the tax-paying entity. So it's really a very limited type of testing, mainly to see if there's anything big we notice that's not working right. So some of the comments in the management letter are as a result of doing that this year. Really, in the management letter, that in the basic part, there's only one new comment this year, and that has to do with billings for the jail contracts, timing, and when you record receivables. There are some issues in getting amounts recorded at the end for what was owed you and you hadn't received the money yet. So that's a new comment this year. It'll go away next year because we've talked with everybody, and now I think you guys have processes in place to make sure that doesn't happen again. The rest of the comments are really kind of ongoing comments that have not been addressed yet. The biggest comments really are on that limited testing we did on the IT, some things we noted as part of our testing. And kind of what we did was we picked 1 month and we tried to trace stuff clear through the software system itself to where it got billed and then distributed out. And we picked the month of October. It wasn't quite as easy as we thought it was going to be perfectly frank. The reporting process in-depth that wasn't really conducive to this, so there's really a lot of back and forth that you don't see in this report, because at the end things were okay. It just took us a while to figure out they were okay. And Larry was very cooperative in answering questions. You know, we come up with a question, we put it back to Kristen and Debbie and Larry go back and figure it out. So the end result is it doesn't show quite the pain that we have to go through to get there. We don't think any of the things we noted meet the definition of either a significant deficiency deficiency or material weakness. So they're just things we noted that we wanted to tell you about. Most of them, I think, have been fixed, and I think Kristen and Larry are working on any subsequent issues. So it looks, in general, it looks like people are being billed appropriately, people are paying the right amount of money, and for the most part, it's being distributed appropriately, which is our concern at a financial statement level. There's probably day-to-day operational issues, and we just didn't get necessarily into those because, again, we're looking at a financial statement level and not a day-to-day operational level. So I think there's probably other things that as a county you guys ought to be looking at, but they didn't fall to this level. So
Is that it?
that's it, except for questions.
Oh, I got a question.
Okay.
Actually, I got a couple questions real quick. One is not to you so much as maybe to Debbie. Just on backup tapes, have we resolved that issue? So that's a new issue. We're going to get them off site.
I'll work with Dale on it. We hadn't really talked to him. I was waiting till the management letter came
Okay.
out to
We may.
talk
Can we
to him.
store them at like Public Works?
We have to take our tapes out on a weekly basis.
Why don't we take them out to the emergency services building?
Well, I think the concern is getting it far enough away from here that in the event of something occurring, it would be but Public Works has separate everything out there
We
from
also
here.
talked about the health department because they bring their tapes here.
Yeah.
and
Okay.
sending them back
Oh, okay.
with Heather to the health.
That's a good idea, actually.
That's not that
if they're
far
already,
away either.
yeah.
And they're making the
I was
trip.
just thinking Public Works because Public Works is remote enough that it really is like a remote site as opposed to still being in the urban core. I don't know. I mean, if you guys, where do you guys take your tapes, Larry?
Either myself or one of our employees takes them home just to get them away from the building.
Well, why don't we just set it up where you guys bring your tape here, and we'll give you our tape, and then that way they're both stored a fair distance apart. Then we just have a routine and we never have to worry about it again. Okay. My other question is on the prosecuting attorney's office. I'm on page 4 of your management letter. I noticed it says following prior year comment has not been resolved. Is there any explanation from the prosecuting attorney as to why they're not segregating duties to ensure that fraud doesn't occur or theft?
They do get a copy of the management letter every year. I'm not sure if they've ever
I think
responded.
they are kind of in the process of looking at that, because they've had changeover to 2 long-term employees that handle this particular account.
But it's been there. I mean, it's been an issue for a long time.
And I think part of that was the long-term employees not wanting to share the work with other people. I think it's being
That's up to their
looked
boss,
at,
though.
it has not been resolved.
It has not been.
Boss is the one that-
Has that account been audited? I mean, are we sure there's no theft? I mean, that's the only place we're left, I think, in the county where there's not some segregation of duties on an account, and that handles cash. Restitution's a cash account.
Right. We look at it at a high level because remember our focus is on what's going to materially mislead
Right.
the financial statements, and so this is a byproduct of gaining an understanding. So can we say that there's no theft? No, I can't say that.
Okay.
The risk is there. It's not. I can say it's not material to the financial statements, and we kind of do.
I don't even know how much that account runs in a year, do you? I'm sure it's hundreds of thousands of dollars because restitution's a fair amount of money. And with one person, all they have to do is stick it in their pocket and they can walk away. I'm just surprised that hadn't been resolved. It's disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, I wish they would.
I mean, it's a vulnerability.
Yes.
Okay. Those are the only questions I had. Chris, Jeff?
I just, on page 2, you say, we recommend the county carefully review contracts to ensure billings are occurring on a timely basis and related revenues and receivables are recorded in the proper period. So could you elaborate on that just a little bit?
Anytime you perform services for somebody, there's generally 2 issues. One is to get it billed,
Mhm.
period. So when you provide the services, you turn around and bill them on a monthly basis or whatever the contract calls for. So that's the first thing is, number one, you want to get the cash in the door, so you want to bill regularly. The second thing is at year end, you have to have a cutoff. So it's kind of like your utilities. You use electricity during the month, you use sewer during the month, water during the month, but you don't pay for those services in that month. You turn around and pay it the following month. So you have to record receivables for any services that you provided as a receivable and revenue at year end.
Mhm.
And that did not happen for these contracts. So you had people in your jail, you were owed money, and so you had should have had a receivable, and it wasn't recorded. So kind of two issues. One is just the whole billing process itself, making sure it's done regularly, timely, and then the second thing is at year end, getting those receivables recorded.
So is the problem mainly occurring at year end when we're not recording stuff, even though it's getting paid in the following year?
One of them was the billing process itself. You didn't bill for a length of time.
Okay.
And obviously you don't want to do that. You want to bill at least
Right.
monthly. And the second issue is the year end, getting in the financial statements to get those receivables recorded.
Okay.
So it was actually two issues, kind of all related to revenue recognition.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And Chris, just to tell you, 2 of those contracts were the federal and mental health contracts that were new in 12, so we missed that. It had like a month's lag, so we didn't bill December until January. We didn't catch it in 12. We finally caught it in 13 to get it caught up, but it was missed because they were newer contracts and we didn't realize the lag of that month at the end of the year.
Okay.
The other one is the billing, regular Board of Prisoners billing, and the clerk's office, when they had some changeover in staff, kind of
Missed
let
that.
that get behind,
Yep.
and it's still being caught up at this point.
Right.
That was the predecessor clerk, though, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's been caught up since beginning of 2013.
It is not caught up as of today.
It's not?
But we're only, I think, 2 months lagged at this point. We were like a year lagged.
Wow.
Kristen, is your office monitoring stuff that's purchased with grant funds or logging any of that? I mean, I see something grant management here, so.
We
just-
don't have a way in the system to actually track in the system what's purchased with grant funds. We know, in all reality, most of Bill Farr stuff is purchased with grant funds. I mean, we know most of the things in the sheriff's department, like radios and things, we know when they get a large grant, they purchase a large amount of equipment. The system does not have a way to give us a list of here's all the things that are purchased with grant funds. It's more of just as we dispose of them, it's kind of, okay, was this a radio purchase with the grant, or is this something of Bill Farr's that we know came with federal money? It's more of a backtracking as we get rid of things than it is of the system tracking it itself.
So we can't.
That's in there because it is a federal requirement
Right.
to identify those that are purchased. So we put it in there because of that. We don't think it's a big enough deal to say you didn't comply with federal regulations, but it is a federal regulation.
And it has to do with when we dispose of the item.
Mhm.
If it's within the first 5 years, we have to actually give the feds back a portion of what we make off of the sale of that item. The county has not really come into any situation where we do not hold something longer than 5 years.
Right.
So it hasn't been an issue so far as disposing of things purchased with grant funds.
Okay.
And I don't have any more questions for Heidi, but I do have a question for Larry.
Go ahead. Which one?
Vincent, LV. So Larry, is the software stuff all resolved? I mean, DevNet has completed all.
I wouldn't say it's all resolved, but I think we've made significant progress.
Okay.
Still a long way to go. I intend to meet with them, with their ownership, to review the issues that arose out of the audit, and several of our issues still have to do with the bridge and how information comes from the assessor's office to the collector's office that I'm not sure DevNet can resolve.
So it's a conflict and software issue, or is it just how materials coming through? Don't know.
It's gotta come across the bridge in an exact format, and if it doesn't come across the bridge. And we're not always aware when they send something, if it has an error in it. excuse me, that we didn't receive it. That, plus they don't have the ability to go back and look at the changes they made, and if we have an issue, tell us what change they made.
So there's no way to put the information in the assessor system that it has to go in a certain way, or it won't allow them to enter it?
No. I mean, people make mistakes. We make mistakes in our office just as they make mistakes in their office. The real issue is because we're on two different systems, they're not caught. If we were on the same system, for one thing, the errors wouldn't happen because we would all be entering the information the exact same way, regardless of whose system it's in. Right now, they won't, I mean, they enter their information a different way than our information is entered. Their programmer has to convert that information so that it will come into DevNet as the way it is entered in DevNet. If they leave out a comma or they leave out a space in entering their information, because our information uses distinct categories: first name, last name, address, city, zip. Theirs is still using the AS400 format, where it's last name, comma, space, first name, and it's done different than a lot of the fields.
So is the bridge not working?
The bridge is not, the bridge works, but it's not functioning at an optimum level in my opinion.
It works as long as the data is entered correctly. So the bridge itself works. It's more what is entered in the assessor's office, is that converted to a format that's read by DevNet. So the bridge itself, based on our limited testing, stuff goes across it. But if, like Larry said, if you put in last name, comma, one space instead of two spaces, it won't come over right. And that's not a problem with the bridge, it's a problem of...
It's not a DevNet side. That's
Problem
an
in the seat.
assessor side.
Picnic.
Yeah, picnic.
Picnic.
Well, that's
From an outsider's perspective looking in, now that you've had it for a year and we've identified some stuff, it would seem like it would be a good chance for the offices to get together and say, okay, we're having these problems, what can we do to fix it to make life easier?
I think the only way those two officers are getting together is at 40 paces.
At 40 paces.
My eyesight's not as good as it used to be.
5 paces, huh?
5 paces with shotguns.
Because ultimately, when your taxpayer's standing there to pay his tax bill, you want to know he's paying the right amount.
Right.
And you can give him the right information. You can answer his questions without making him go back and forth or wait 2 hours to get that. And so, whatever it takes to get there would be the ultimate goal, in my personal opinion. Because that's really who it impacts.
Mm-hmm.
It's forcing us in some cases to make changes to records that we shouldn't be making, that we know we shouldn't be making. But again, the taxpayers standing here, are standing at the Department of Revenue, we send them back to the assessor. The assessor says, we're not gonna change it. Go back to the collector. So we end up changing it to take care of the taxpayer.
Dysfunctional assessor's office.
It just seems to me like
I don't wanna lay all the blame on them, but that sounds good to me.
it seems to me like, I mean, you fill out a form online or on a computer or whatever. I mean, if you don't fill it out right, it doesn't let you go any further. I mean, you know.
Well, that format doesn't have a defined
Their
field
system
that it
doesn't
has
do
to be
that.
filled out in a particular manner. So if it doesn't have to be filled out in that, defined space, just a certain portion of the information, then it's,
Yeah,
Heidi is
gives me
correct.
headaches,
It's the
too.
assessor's office and collector's office, we need to sit down together and try to find a way to resolve this.
Get it done before we approve the budget.
But DevNet is meeting their capabilities, correct?
Well,
In your all's opinion?
In general, I wouldn't say that there aren't glitches in that. Anytime you convert software like this, there's a learning process. So I think the process of John going through and looking at stuff, we identified some things that they're working on as well. And my understanding is Larry's going to work with DevNet on programming issues and stuff.
Because we have an invoice for their quarterly maintenance and support. And we've been sitting on it because we don't want to pay DevNet if they're not able to get us we were worried about even getting financial statements that you guys would sign off on.
It was a painful process. I mean, you'd think the data's in there, they can spit out a report, and you can compare receipts to disbursements or recalculate things, and it just didn't work that way. But Larry and Kristen, because we pushed everything back to them, they can probably give you the better specifics.
I definitely think that there's still some issues with DevNet. I know that we had to go through and manually calculate the annual settlement. I'm not sure that DevNet can still at this point produce an annual settlement for last year that matches the numbers that we had that we could tie back to other reports. I do know that there's some reports that if you print them now are different than if you printed them on the day they distributed something. I think there are still some issues with DevNet that need to be corrected.
So should we pay for our quarterly support or not?
I think at this time, though,
Okay. I'm okay with that recommendation.
I would like them to review the
You
issues
okay with
in
that?
the audit and go over some of the issues that Ms. Lester still has outstanding before we pay that money.
Well, Larry, what do you think?
About paying it?
Yeah.
Well, I agree. I think that's, somehow we have to hold their feet to the fire to provide us what they said they'd provide us, and if we continue to pay them, I don't think there's no incentive for them to make the corrections we need made in a timely manner. Plus, I think that we've already informed them that we were withholding payment, I believe, in a previous letter that the commission sent regarding our annual settlement.
So do they think they're going to have it resolved here in the short term or by the end of the year? Or?
I don't know. I'm arranging a meeting with them now. I'm just waiting for them to get back to me on a date and place. And I'm going to be in contact with them as soon as our meeting's over. They're supposed to call me. So
Okay.
my hope is yes. My hope is before tax bills go out, we'll have all this rectified.
When do those go out? December?
November 7th, I believe, is the mailing date, but we'll start the process September 1st, so it's pretty short order that
Right.
we need to have things worked on.
Okay. You have anything else, Heidi? You guys have anything else for Heidi? Jeff?
No, not for Heidi, but we've got prior year things. The IT hiring and dismissals, are we doing something with that? And surplus items, I thought that we had that locked up. Those seem like easy things to take care of and just it gets it off of the list. Those are, same with the tape storage. We got that taken care of in all about 2 minutes.
Yeah.
We did talk with Dale. I think it's more of the actual termination of employees that he's looking for some kind of form or something to let him know. I know Debbie has the same issue. Sometimes we don't find out until you get their timesheet that they terminated during the month.
Well, is this a problem with our departments or is this a problem with elected officials? Because if it's our departments, that's going to end today.
I think it's countywide at this point.
That's going to end today for our departments.
It's an easy fix.
I mean, if anybody's terminated from any county department and we're not notified within 24 hours, Debbie's not notified within 24 hours, there'll be employment consequences. That solves that problem real easy. Because that's easy. If somebody quits, you just send Debbie an email saying, hey, somebody quit.
I mean, that's what Dale's looking for, is something to make sure that he gets them off of the system and restricts their access
Yep.
on the day that they leave.
Just send a memo out to all the department heads and elected officials just to
Yep.
clean up our audit report in one simple little stupid paragraph we can get off of here by simply notifying us and passing the information on. So that was easy. Okay. Now the surplus property. I thought that was secured, locked up.
I don't know that it is at this point. I kind of passed surplus property to Jennifer. Neither one of us is over there all the time. I know I have walked through.
Is it locked up?
It's been open.
Yeah, locked this morning when I was in there.
Okay. That's what that other paragraph was, right?
I just think it's the fact that maintenance uses that as storage also, so there are times when the door's open.
We've got storage in there.
In the same room?
Yeah.
Same room.
It's not segregated.
It's all big, huge open room.
All right, it's just not
So,
segregated out.
Yeah, So it's just the fact that there are times when the door's open, there is public access to that building and that door being open.
Are y'all in and out of that door that often and it needs to stay open?
We're in there quite a bit, because that's where we keep the majority of our supplies for the annex, courthouse, as well as Carnegie's.
I mean, it needs to be secured. So do we have somewhere else we can put your stuff, or somewhere else to put it, or just, they're just gonna have to unlock the door when they're going in and out?
We're just gonna have to unlock the door going in and out, but,
I think that's a simple fix. Just do it, and,
You done with it? Then we don't have to worry about it anymore.
I mean, do you got any other ideas, or?
I think that's
a great
For now, or
I mean,
until we think of something else?
Until we get out of the Carnegie building and figure out where else it's gonna go, so.
I mean, right now, we're using probably half the basement over there for storage for different items, for different buildings.
Okay.
That's it then.
Okay.
All right. We're
Thanks,
done?
Heidi.
We're done? We're done?
Thanks, Heidi.
Thanks,
you.
Heidi. You guys did a great job. Thank you very much. I know we're difficult to deal with. I know we're difficult to deal with.
Larry, if you need something from us for this DevNet stuff, because, I mean, we got on their case about needing this done before the audit, let us know, because we don't want to wait till October 15th, saying you got 2 weeks to get it fixed. Let's do it now.
And if you guys need to.
I'm not paying
call
them.
John in because he's the IT person that did it, but he's outside the county. From a command perspective, just let us know.
Okay.
If he
Hey,
needs
appreciate
to
it.
join in a conference call or something, he can talk about what he found, and he's outside the county independent too.
I mean, you can't get hold of the assessor side, their people, and talk to them, or you just can't get the assessor to talk to you and communicate. Well, that's where we gotta start somewhere.
Yeah. We're glad to help however we can between. Jeff, you can facilitate. Yeah.
I'm a better shot and I can see fine at 40 steps, I'm gonna tell you that much. I got a little trophy at home. Well, we just gotta get it taken care of. This has been going on for a while, and then the audit brought it to the top of the water, floated it up, so. Just let us know if you need something from us to facilitate it or get it moved on. Even a mean letter to DevNet helps.
A mean letter.
I'll send you all a copy of what my IC issues are on the grid.
All right.
Okay. Thank you. You're up, Jen. Roof repairs, Public Works.
We had 3 bids. Watkins was low bid at $12,000. I talked to Greg, who's comfortable with the work they've done for us in the past. The recommendation is to Watkins Roofing. Excuse me.
Out of Columbia. And Natch was 12.6.
What are we replacing? And what
Ridge
will it?
cap and roof dams. You guys can probably
It's
put it in
basically,
terms.
basically what would be the ridge cap on a commercial building is the dams across it and the entire ridge cap, and they're resetting all that. That's
What building?
on the large, yeah, the
Oh,
big building.
your office building and,
Right.
okay.
I mean, what value do we place on the local vendor? $600 and $611 worth, or we're gonna go with the lowest bid? I'm throwing it out there because I don't know either.
I mean,
We don't have a
you got
magic number.
Septagon's not really a roofing contractor, and so, when I look at it, you got 2 bids basically from roofing contractors, and you don't give it to the low guy, then they might not bid the next time, and we struggle with getting people to bid it sometimes anyway.
I think on something like this, you just have to go with low bid, and it's a staff recommendation.
That's why I asked. I don't have a
That's
special
my-
magic formula, and
That's
I would like to see the local vendors, try to take care of us and help us out, and save some money, and we wouldn't have this issue. So,
That's the way it works in bidding stuff. You live in Columbia, you get jobs in Jeff. If you live in Jeff, you get jobs in Columbia. So
true.
Go figure.
yeah, explain that one too.
I have no idea.
We're all one region. I mean,
So
it's.
I move we award the roof repairs to Watkins Roofing.
I'll second.
Motion second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed. Motion carries. 2014-30 truck bid.
Despite reaching out to 3 people, including Watkins Capital City and the notification they should have got to the website, we did only get 1 bid. The base bid was $68,270. The only optional equipment that they were interested in that was not included was $250 for the high idle control. The recommendation is to award, of course, to Joe Watkins Capital City Board with that option for a total of $68,520.
So did we specify Ford only, or just looking at Ford or Chevy or
We reached out to,
Riley? I mean, anybody?
Who we talking?
Ford and Dodge are the only two that actually make a 19,000 DBW truck. Dodge does make one. I'm not sure why Capital City Dodge didn't turn in bid, actually, but I know they've been competing on it.
and I spoke with Jerry Dunn, who handles that out there, and I'm not sure why they didn't submit.
And the other bidder usually is Mawkins out of Columbia.
Mhm.
I'm sure they decided that since they were bidding here in town, they wouldn't bid, be my guess.
So Chevy goes to more of a Class 7 or something once
Yeah,
once they
wanna
get
go
above the
to,
3,500
about
or
13,000 DBW, I think.
Hmm.
13 or 14, something like that. Might be a little higher than
Okay. And so this includes the spreader and everything? I mean, is that Knapheide or?
that. Yes.
Okay. And you just wanted to bid it all as a package deal, I guess?
Yeah, that's what we usually do. We've done, we used to do a cab and chassis by itself sometimes, and then bid the rest of it. And then when we did that, if something come in on the truck that wasn't right, that didn't go along with the guys who were putting on the bed and the rest of the stuff, then we ended up being in the middle of it this way, Mawkins. And those guys put this stuff together with, they know what they're supposed to provide us, and we are not the middleman in the middle of it.
Otherwise, they point fingers at each other,
Yes.
and we get in that argument.
Yeah, and we get nothing, and we end up in the middle of it, finger pointing this way, there's not any of that goes on.
Especially with the central hydraulics and stuff, it just makes it easier where they have to plumb everything and make sure it works with the equipment before we get it.
So you are getting the high idle control or not?
Yes.
That's the recommendation.
Okay.
That trade-in, is that,
But you're not getting the electric brake? You don't
It's
pull trailers or
actually
anything?
included. I think it's because I put it on my thing, on my list for optional equipment, because some of the people some truck manufacturers, it's included in their package, and some it's not. So if you see, he put the 270, but on his thing, he said it was included in his bid, he was just telling you what it actually cost.
Okay. And this is a 550, F550?
550.
Good enough. They're local, so I move we award it to Joe Mawkins.
I'll second. I got another question on the trade-in. What are we trading in?
An old 550.
Yeah, you probably don't want it.
So, no, I'm just saying, if you looked at it, make sure we're getting.
Or are we getting about what we should be for a trade?
They're probably getting more than what they should. That thing needs to go to the junk.
Okay. Well, that's what I was wondering, what we were.
Doesn't it? I mean,
I've tried to sell or tried to surplus an ambulance, and we actually, I think, took it in to see the pants on that one. So I wasn't
we did.
advocating that we necessarily do that. I was just asking to make sure that.
The one we're actually trading in, we put signs underneath the floorboard so we didn't see the ground.
They already agreed to this though before they saw it. No, that I'm fine with it. I was just curious about what we were trading in. If you looked at
Yeah,
it,
it's
I
good
mean,
then. Yeah.
we're either going to get a good deal on the trade-in or a good deal on the price of it.
You good?
Yeah, I already seconded. So.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed. Motion carries.
Thanks, Jen.
Thank you.
Well, you were still going. That's why I asked.
Thought you had one more here.
Signing of HGAC buy agreement.
No. No, it's not Jen.
Who's that?
Yeah, I don't know what this is.
What's this?
Did I give it to you?
Something with Shirtsy and us.
Oh, this was the radio system.
Yes.
I know what this is.
This is to buy the radios. And
Remember how they came up with the other The other option, we have to sign this agreement to be able to participate.
We got copies of it, Debbie.
So we just need to move to approve this agreement with HGAC.
I'm good with it. We just got to approve it too.
Yeah. So I entertain a motion to approve the agreement.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Call roll.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, by roll call vote. The agreement with HGAC is approved. Here you go.
All right, we're done, right?
Now we're getting there, though. Getting there. 2014-13 financial software discussion recommendation.
Okay, so we got 3 bids. I think you guys have a bid tab attached there. Out of the 3 bids, we decided to demo 2 of them. One is New World, who we currently have. The other is BS&A. For BS&A, you'll see 3 lines there. The first one's their original bid. The second one was a revision after the demo. There were some things that they said we might want and things that we didn't need that they had put in their bid. So they revised their original. We then went to both and asked for best and final, because mainly it is down to price difference. Both softwares will accomplish what we need to. Both are better than what we currently have. Additional scanning and things like that are involved, so we can go more paperless than we currently are. After the best and final, our recommendation is still BS&A.
Really?
They are a little higher in the first year, but if you look at their annual support and service, after the 3rd year, New World becomes more expensive. And after 10 years, there's about $200,000 difference between the two, just because of their annual support. We did not see anything with BS&A that would say they could not accomplish what we needed them to do. Every reference that we called, including they gave us a list of all current customers, so we picked and chose who we wanted to call. Everyone gave them a glowing report.
Wow, that's surprising in the software world.
So, if we were to move forward with this, can we lock in a 10-year support contract?
Their agreement gave us prices for the first 5 years, and it says that they will not increase more than 3% a year. So that's actually what we have plugged in there to go out to 10 is
Okay.
3% a year.
Okay.
That's great.
And New World just said it's going to bump up to.
They locked in a price for the first 5 and then a price for the next 5. So they locked their price, but for 5 years at a time.
And you can see just going through the years, they're double what the other one was as far as maintenance goes.
And it will actually be a cost savings because we are currently paying New World, I think, is it right at 60?
Yes.
Right at 60. So it will be a cost savings from what we're currently paying for annual maintenance also.
How much difference is it than what we're paying now for New World?
Well,
On a yearly basis?
On the maintenance part, so we own New World right now. Going forward, it's an AS400 version, and the goal was to move all of our stuff off the AS400, go to an NT type platform countywide. So basically, this plus there's an imaging that is still left on the AS400. But as soon as the financial moves off, it would just be a matter of we're hoping to move the imaging at the same time. So then we'll be done with AS400 World, and we'll be on to NT countywide.
What?
I think your question is we're paying about $60,000 a year currently
Right, and-
on software
Okay.
support.
Yeah.
That's what I thought his
Yeah,
question
that
was.
was
too.
too.
I was like,
And,
wow.
and-
Even Kristen thought that.
Yeah.
And
So
then we're gonna go
it's
to
about half of what we're
31,000,
currently
yeah.
paying.
Okay, I was making sure I heard that correctly
Right.
because
That's how I heard it.
And I don't know what Debbie was talking about.
basically, if I called you and said, how much are we paying yearly now for New World?
Okay.
You tell us now is 61,000 or 60,000, and then next year, if we approve this, it's going to be 30,000 per year. And
And their first year maintenance
We
is
are
actually
also-
included in that first year cost.
you haven't
really
been that
second.
happy with New World either, have you?
I've been completely satisfied.
There's some departments that don't. I don't think we're ever going to find a software that every department loves.
So is this a unanimous recommendation, Debbie?
Yeah, I mean, from what I've seen in the demos, yes.
Okay.
I mean, you know.
There is some
You said you
comfort
like New
level
World.
with New World just because we currently have it, but we haven't seen anything.
I don't
in,
think she wants to switch.
It's hard for everybody to switch.
Yeah.
So it's hard to, it is, no matter what, if we went to New World, it's a big change. It's a big change from Click and Point, from now we're power users and the blue screen. So it's gonna be a change for everybody.
The green screen is what we call it, you know, out there.
Y'all can't agree on the color of the screen.
It's green.
It's green screen.
You know, everything's going to more the NT base where your
Microsoft based.
Yeah. And it's just more click and point type of stuff where I think it's easier for new people to learn. Now for us old dogs, and I'm not including any of these.
Nice save.
He went there.
You know, there's always a learning curve, and that's difficult, especially when, like I said, when you get my age, is trying to learn something new. But I think in the long run, I think it would be better.
What do we got
Got
budgeted
one
for this?
gal in my office is probably gonna,
It's going to be a big undertaking. I know when we did this in 2000, it was basically a year-long process. We did decentralize at that point where it really wasn't before. It was more hand out the reports. In our vision, I think we anticipate more decentralizing, more of a paperless operation. Either one, BSNA or New World. It's driven more on a user approval type thing, not on a paper copy sign off. So it's gonna change in both respects. The people entering it, people approving it, I mean, I see this as increasing.
yeah, because I'm gonna have to start doing it online, where now I'm doing it with all paper.
So everybody's going that way. I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah, I like it.
It also has the ability to where we scan in invoices as they're entering. So if you're in the system, you don't have to go somewhere else and look for an invoice or pull an invoice. You can automatically click on that payment. You can see the invoice behind it. It's going to be much more user friendly and less time consuming because as they're entering the stuff, they're going to be scanning it in. It's going to be attached.
Is that something we can accept emailed invoices or?
I'm not sure. We did not specifically ask that question. I'm sure it's a possibility.
Currently, we do get emails from some vendors, I do, with their invoices. I would assume that we could move that.
Yeah, I
JPEG
think you can
over
just
somehow,
attach.
into that. So, I mean, it does have lots of frills that we're not used to as far as even employee access to, by a web-based system to their pay stubs, their,
W-2s.
W-2s.
That's great.
They can change their addresses and then it comes back to the main place if we change it type thing. It's gonna be open enrollment for health, dental, life. It's got a place that we can use for open enrollment to the employees, that they go online and fill out their own forms. Unfortunately, you know, we were, a mom-kid based. We help them fill out their forms, we do all that. But as the county grows, and it has grown, it's so much easier to let the users go online and do their own, at their own pace, their own time. They would miss meetings, so it's gonna be very nice. It's gonna be a learning curve for everybody.
What do you have in capital for this?
We budgeted $300,000 at the beginning of the year. I know you guys have spent some money with the health department and EMS, I think, on some software stuff. So there's currently not enough to cover the first year cost.
We're down to about 225. That was set aside in computer services from that
That's-
350 that we started because the health department came in and got a couple of different softwares
That's
that weren't planned on.
that's what we have in this year's budget.
That's right.
And if we go forward with this, how long would it take?
And we could also have a little money in contingency. We could move up into computers.
Can we do it January 1, 2015?
I'm not sure they will hold their prices that
I
long.
think both of them had an October date as far as their pricing is concerned. It will not actually be a go live, hopefully, until July 1st of 2015. I know some of the cost as far as the travel and things will be billed as we go. But I think the bulk of the applications and licensing and probably the data conversion Most of that will be upfront costs when we sign the contract.
Well, we need to see the contract.
We don't have one yet. That's
My
why.
assumption is it'll be on a percentage of completion basis.
Could be.
And
That's what I was getting at, is we'd have money in this year's budget to pay for part of that, and then maybe that might roll over into next year's.
You're going to have to encumber the whole amount, though, when we sign the contract.
But if you notice the stuff in yellow or highlighted across, that is actually the file server that we have to buy, the tape drive that we have to buy, and other equipment that really wouldn't go to that vendor. So potentially with that and using some in contingency, we could make this actually work this year to be able to sign that contract. So there'd be a transfer that would have to be made. But again, you know that you have lots of other projects going on in sales tax. Basically, we would finish the projects we're on and wait for next year's money. Because I can give you that spreadsheet again, but there won't be much left after this, as far
well,
as.
I'm fine with your all's recommendation. You guys got to figure out how to pay for it.
I mean, that's your. I mean, I don't mean that's it, but that is kind of your all's job anyway, is to figure out where the money's at, and then bring it back to us with a plan on how to do it.
It seemed like we had money in sales tax to take it. I mean, we had
Most of the way, yes. I mean, we budgeted at the beginning of the year the $300,000. It's just that you guys have spent some of that on other things. So
You need to do the whole health department thing when their system.
the bulk
died.
of it is there. There is some room where we're going to have to play because it is about $40,000 more than where we expected it to be.
Well, it's not going to get any cheaper, and the more
Well,
we
that's
keep
true.
kicking the can down the road, I mean, we can do this again next year if you want.
No.
I agree. Let's find the money and move forward on it.
Okay.
Jeff.
Get creative.
Contract ready.
All right.
Because I mean, there's nothing saying we have to have it by October 1st. Call them and ask them if we can build it
So do you
January 1st.
do you want us to vote to award?
I think so, yes.
I entertain a motion to award to BS and A.
So moved.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed. Motion carries.
See if
There
they
you
will-
go.
See if they will wait till January 1, 2015 to bill us.
You now have what you asked for. Congratulations. Good luck.
Can you see if they'll wait till next year?
Yeah, I'll be gone.
Even though they
Woo,
have to.
man! I got 154 days. I will not see the implementation of this through.
I got a letter ready for you here.
A letter ready for us.
How much
Great.
more we got?
One more item.
Is that it? Okay.
That's all it's on here. County Health Department Security System. Craig.
Per your request, Mark, met with the current security company that is doing some of the stuff out there. They've come back with a proposal. Christie also asked about adding another keypad upstairs to come and go from. We talked about putting some active or smoke detectors that would be monitored, since we don't have any monitored smoke detectors there when they're closed and weekends. 1120 is what they came back to do the doors, smoke detectors, put 4 smoke detectors in, sirens, and the keypads.
What about monitoring?
Fee stays the same, what we're currently paying.
Who's the vendor?
AC system, or ACC out of Columbia.
Do we have it in our budget for this year? Do we need to look at doing that for next year? Do we have any capital improvements? Where's the money coming from on this? Or
I just did what.
I mean, I think the price is good.
But no, I asked
don't have a
him
problem
just to
with
find
that.
out what the cost was because we need to do something with securing that building.
Sure.
It's $1,100.
I might see what I have still in one of my accounts.
Otherwise, it would come out of capital.
What's
Wrote
I'm
that
fine
down.
with the price. I think that sounds
I
very
don't,
reasonable.
this is another proposal, another thing Mark asked for.
only problem I have is I just don't think a lot of our security systems at a lot of our buildings work very well, and so I mean I don't know what their building's like, but
There's the same system as Public Works use. Yeah, I mean, the company's very good standings. I don't have an issue. I've never had an issue with them. They've always been very good to work with and taken care of. We're not getting tremendous monthly and quarterly bills like we are currently from one company. They come down, they've fixed it, and they're gone. So,
minimal service call, all that.
yeah, service calls are here the same day usually, and they're gone, so.
Is anything going to happen with St. Mary's?
try to override. Of course, if we're successful in overriding, then the governor will withhold it.
So it's going to take a while.
It's going to take a little while.
Be like MSP.
And even if it did, even if he didn't, and we went forward with it, it would still be a year because they got to remodel that whole building, and they can't really get in and do it until St. Mary's out, which is November 16th, I think. I think we need to do it. We got to secure the doors.
And there are 3 doors. The front door is already secured.
Yeah.
It's the other doors, for $30 a month, is it?
Still stays the same because we're currently monitoring the holdups and the freezers over there too, so.
And this will eliminate keys that have been running around from other employees that are no longer here, that we don't get back, so.
The other thing Mark asked me to look into is what to rekey the building, outside locks, go with a Medco system, which only authorized peoples are allowed to make keys. Currently, we have that at the courthouse, the juvenile center, courthouse, juvenile center, and I'm forgetting the other building, but, Carnegie's, yeah. Basically, it is they've used the Medco locks. There's authorized personnel. The commission is authorized to make a key. The department head is authorized to make the key only, as well as the facility director.
How much?
That came back from Tyler's $11.49.
So that doesn't include making more keys later on down the road and stuff, so.
He did include all the new keys
I like
that
the
would have to be.
keyless entry thing.
So are the doors just not shutting or what?
I think it's, as far as, when I've been over there, the doors shut fine. I don't know if it's, hey, it's 5 o'clock, let's hurry up, get out of here and go home. And they're not getting locked, I don't know. Every time I've been over, the doors have been, except for one day that myself and another maintenance guy was over there working, the doors have been locked.
I mean, you can have all the security in the world, but if you don't, people aren't going to take time to shut the door, or if they're going to prop the door when they go out to smoke and still propped when they leave, I mean, don't do any good. I mean, the monitoring.
So the monitoring can't tell if the door's propped
Yeah,
open?
if the door's propped open, it's not gonna let them set the alarm. Yeah, it's just like here, if you leave a door open downstairs, they can't set the alarm.
When do we set the alarms in these buildings, man? That's different
It's all
issues.
through the computer system with the cards.
Some of the
Right,
computer
it's,
system is done.
Not at these buildings, they physically, the last person out has to actually kick it on, am I understanding it
Right, it's just the same way downstairs with Larry, and before they leave, they have to set the Sonatrol downstairs.
in their area, not the outside.
So it just means that the health department whoever the last person out the health department has to turn it on, and they're responsible if something's missing.
Correct.
Just make motion.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still struggling because we don't have any security up here, do we, Debbie?
The outside doors themselves are by Sonatrol.
Right.
So you can't get in unless you have a code.
Right.
And I guess somebody could steal your card and know your code. So it kind of gets you both. A card won't get you in, you got another.
If somebody props the door open, there's nothing saying that it's propped open.
No, I'd have.
If I leave, I'm the last one to leave, or I had it propped open because I was carrying boxes up here, and then
If you
before I
leave these
leave, I
doors
forget
propped
to.
open, I don't think there's,
No, there's no
If I-
Saturdays.
But there's nothing that shows it's open?
No.
We'd have to ask Don. Well, you have to ask Donnie. There may be a log there that shows the door's open.
I don't think nobody gets called or notified. There may be a log in the computer.
Yeah, they may just look over and see. Don't prop the door open anymore.
Well,
No,
so-
don't prop the door open anymore.
Well, we have to when they.
You
forget
call
to set-
Donnie.
We have. And whenever it's supposed to be open for voting on
Mhm.
Saturdays and it's not.
Really, that's happened?
So it's happened like 3-4 times. So we've had to prop the door open to let people come in and vote. And then we've gotten a hold of Albert a couple
Mhm.
times and he would come up and something about resetting
Well, we gotta do something to secure the building, or try to. With
At least-
40 with 40 or 60 keys floating around, there's no security to the building.
When you've been over there to clean, have you had to disable the alarm?
At the health department?
Yes.
There is nothing. You just key and go.
So if the door if you go in the front door and you use
If
your
I go in
code
the
key,
front- If I go in the front door with a key, I just go right in and go to work. There's nothing
but
to
if
turn on or
the
off.
other doors are unlocked,
There's nothing to say if they're locked or not.
and so with this new system,
Basically, what this new system is, it's gonna say at
Just
5 o'clock
secures the
when they
doors.
leave, if they forget to open a door and they got the security system turned on just like downstairs or out at there, they open a door, the police are gonna get notified.
okay, what security system? The key code at the door? Is that the security system, or is there a Sonatrol or?
What, layman's terms, this is gonna be like a home alarm.
Mhm.
Turn the system on at night.
This new system is.
It's, actually, they've got part of the system there already.
Okay.
They've got the system, they've already got the control board and one keypad downstairs. What they are currently monitoring is the panic buttons and the freezer alarms for their equipment. This is just additional equipment to tie in the outside doors, a couple motion detectors, a siren, and 4 smoke detectors with a repeater upstairs if they need to have it. Basically what we have out there.
Does somebody have to turn that on when they leave?
Yes,
With this new system?
correct.
Okay, right now they don't have anything.
They have nothing. First person in will have to turn it off, first person out, or last person out will have to turn it on.
I'm being petty over $1,100, but I'm tired of spending money. So,
I mean, if it's not solving the problem, there's no reason to spend money.
I just don't know that it's going to solve the problem.
But I suggest let's do this. Why don't we pass this until Christy can be here? Because she's on vacation or out of the office or whatever, and she can't be here today. So let's just pass it. Get it. Debbie, will you
Next
talk
week.
to Christy and find out when she's back and get on the agenda when she can be here, and then we can talk about how we make sure it works. I mean, the money's money.
Right.
You don't really need to be here, Greg.
Okay.
You're welcome to be. Don't get me wrong, but you don't need to be.
That's fine.
Because it's just a question of will she enforce the system or not. I'm sure she will. But I think that's worth having a discussion.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, that's the end of the agenda. Anything else come before the commission?
What is this?
Sewer.
Is this something that we have to sign, or
No,
is
it's
this just
already
a
been
copy?
approved. It's just a copy.
Okay.
Oh, this is what we got emailed?
I don't know, did you get email?
Yeah.
A week ago.
I thought it came
I think
from
this
you.
has just got signed by.
This is the final.
This got signed by
is the final
Beadham.
version,
But I think we got this a week ago.
But it hadn't been signed.
Oh, you know who it came from? Health Department.
Yeah, Christy sent one to me.
That's why you didn't know anything about us getting a copy. Yeah, we got a copy, and it's all been basically taken care of, and
Yeah, it's now signed. That's what happened.
so.
Um,
The thing is, we got something done. Bad thing is, didn't have anything to do with the prosecutor about that.
Did you get that on-site sewer ordinance, the changes that they were wanting to look at? Jeff, did you have some questions on that?
The way I thought that they made that sound was they made a whole bunch of wholesale changes.